One of the most heartening trends on the local theater scene is that opera companies are embracing hybrid works that have been neglected because they fall somewhere between opera and musical theater. The latest example is Union Avenue Opera's eagerly awaited production of Lost in the Stars, the 1949 musical by Kurt Weill and Maxwell Anderson, based on Cry the Beloved Country. The novel by Alan Paton was published in 1948, shortly before the racial injustice decried in the book was institutionalized in South African law as apartheid. The main character is Stephen Khumalo, an Anglican priest in a remote South African village. He takes a train to Johannesburg, in part to find his son, Absalom, who hasn't been heard from since going to the city a year earlier to seek work. Before Stephen can find his son, Absalom is driven by need to take part in a robbery that goes wrong. When he and his accomplices are interrupted, he panics and fires a revolver. His shot kills Arthur Jarvis, the son of James Jarvis, a wealthy landowner whose home is near Stephen Khumalo's church. Tormented by remorse, Absalom vows never to lie again. His honesty puts him at a disadvantage to the other two robbers who willingly perjure themselves. Stephen hopes an appeal from the victim's father will save Absalom's life, but James Jarvis refuses to intercede. In spite of the tragic story and heartbreaking conditions depicted in the libretto, the opera ends with a scene of reconciliation that was convincing and moving at Union Avenue, thanks to masterly acting by the bereaved repentant fathers, Kenneth Overton as Stephen Khumalo and Tim Schall as James Jarvis. Schall's role was non-singing, but Overton was a commanding singer throughout the opera, excelling vocally and interpretively. Christy Swan also sang with great beauty and intensity as Irina, Absalom Khumalo's beloved. Melody Wilson's singing and dancing sparkled in the number Who'll Buy. The chorus and its leader, Roderick George, were indispensable contributors to the opera's emotional power. The orchestra played beautifully under conductor Scott Schoonover, who had a sure grip on the score's varied styles. Among the excellent performers in non-singing roles were Mike Andrews, filled with guilt and terror as Absalom Khumalo, Reginald Pierre, sneeringly cynical as Stephen's brother John Khumalo, Carl Overly Jr., a comic standout in a mock trial as John's son Matthew Khumalo, Stephen Pyrek as James Jarvis' kind-hearted son Arthur, Janita Perkins as Stephen's wife Grace, and Chuck Lavazzi as a parole officer. Roger Spidell created a grim background for the action with a scenic design featuring corrugated metal and timbers. The set took on a wide variety of looks under lighting by Joe Clapper that responded insightfully to the action. Teresa Doggett's costumes were right for every character. Stage director Sean Patrick Tubbs shrewdly deployed the ensemble to create evocative stage pictures, most tellingly when Stephen Khumalo was searching for his son in Johannesburg. On stage, as in the city, the crowds were in the way. I saw this compelling production twice. It was one of Union Avenue's finest achievements ever.
Well, and they had such good material to work with, too. I mean, some of the loveliest music I know is in that score. Let's hear some of that good music.